Step into the ring and make the crowd go wild. Leave them hungry for more. The suspense is killing me. The crowd may have paid for the whole seat, but they're only gonna need the edge. It's SuperSlam! SuperSlam returns to the deathmatch arena, where gladiators fight to the death and only one reigns supreme. It brings with it a crowd of feisty locals who cheer their support for a good show, or try to boo you off the stage for your underhanded tactics. On their own, cheering and booing do nothing, but many effects and your life will depend on getting the right reaction from the crowd. Take Crowd Goes Wild, for example. On its own, it's pretty expensive, but if you've gotten a cheer out of the crowd, suddenly it's free. Boos and cheers don't cancel each other out, and can each happen repeatedly during the turn, letting triggered abilities stack up. Make the most of your cheers and jeers. You wouldn't want the crowd to turn on you, would you? Featuring on the center stage of SuperSlam auras is the new keyword suspense, thematically referred to as auras of suspense. These permanents enter the arena with 2 suspense counters and stay in play until there are no counters left. At the start of your turn, remove a counter, and once they're all gone, BAM! They pop off and you get their awesome effect. The automatic counter removal happens before the action phase, where no player gets priority, so the trigger and the removal can't be responded to. But there's plenty of effects that will add counters to keep the show going, or remove counters to hurry it along. So use these effects to time your auras of suspense perfectly. No matter how the counters are removed, once they're gone, the auras are headed to the trash. Tokens in SuperSlam are aura permanents that'll stick around until they're destroyed, usually by their own trigger. But when they're destroyed, you reap all the benefits. 4 I'll be showing off today all trigger and destroy themselves at the start of the turn, before the action phase. Like auras of suspense, can't be responded to. The 2 new tokens in SuperSlam are Confidence and Toughness. Confidence tokens say, at the start of your turn, destroy this. Then the next attack action card you play this turn can't be defended by more than 2 non-block cards. When you're attacking with Confidence, your attacks are harder to block and more evasive, making it easier to push through damage. Block is only a card that literally says block on the bottom, so attacks, defense reactions, and everything else are all non-block. So if that's all you got, you're only blocking with 2 cards. Toughness tokens say, at the start of your opponent's turn, destroy this, then the next action card you defend with gets +1 defense to this chain link. Toughness tokens notably trigger during your opponent's turn to give you a massive defense while defending with an action. They do stack, so if you have multiple in play, you'll end up with one massive block against your tiny opponent. Again, an action card is any card that says action at the bottom, so if it doesn't say that, you don't get the bonus. It only adds to the first action that you block with, so don't waste it on some tiny attack. Might tokens say, at the start of your turn, destroy this. Then the next attack this turn gets +1 power. Like Toughness tokens, they grant a one-time boost to the first attack you send. And if you have multiples, they do stack to make incredibly huge and mighty strike. They don't carry over between turns, so use it or lose it. Vigor tokens say, at the start of your turn, destroy this, gain 1 resource. So if you have a lot of these, you'll start your turn with a load of free resources at your disposal. So plan your turn accordingly with the extra breathing room this gives you. Now on to the main attraction. Our first 2 contenders in the ring are Pleiades and Toughnut, showing off the revered talent. Revered heroes are adored by the crowd, making them go wild with cheering by dominating a fair fight. Pleiades' superstar is a revered guardian hero, who also happens to be a rock star. She brings style, flair, and builds suspense before crushing you with a massive attack. As a guardian, she specializes in playing defensively by blocking strategically and sending back big attacks with devastating on-hit effects. To help these attacks get through, she has the static ability, whenever the crowd cheers you, create a confidence token, which makes her attacks much harder to block effectively. As a rock star, she's very adept at maintaining an aura of suspense. She has an ability as an instant, Tap, to remove a suspense counter from an aura you control. You may put a suspense counter on an aura of suspense you control. This gives her control over when her auras of suspense leave the arena and how long they stay around. She can also cause them to leave during an action phase, building up even more tension with the open threat on the table. On the other end, we have Toughnut, bumbling Hulkster, a revered brute hero, the absolute definition of a himbo. That's why the crowd loves him. As a brute, he leans into random effects and sending 6 power attacks at his opponents. He also has the static ability, whenever the crowd cheers you, create a toughness token, which makes him a tough nut to crack behind his massive wall of defenses. Notably, Toughnut only has 3 intellect instead of the standard 4, so he only draws 3 cards at the end of his turn. He's just a lovable dummy. This is offset by his other ability, as an instant, tap to pitch the top card of your deck. If it has 6 or more power, the crowd cheers you, which will randomly net him 1 to 3 resources when he activates it. So careful planning, and maybe a bit of luck, will make or break his day in the arena. Additionally, cards with clash effects, which we'll get into later, give him a peek at the top of his deck and will be invaluable to planning out his next moves. Why is the crowd booing? The other 2 heroes in the ring are KO and Limted Goldmane, both with the dastardly Reviled talent. Reviled heroes specialize in underhanded tactics, intimidation, stealing, and outright cheating to turn the tables on their opponents. The crowd hates them, but the boos only fuel their diabolical actions. Returning to the ring is KO, underhanded cheat, last seen in heavy hitters. He's still missing an arm and only starts with 1 weapon zone, so he can only equip a single one-handed weapon. He has the static ability, whenever the crowd boos you, create a Vigor token, which gives him a steady supply of resources to play his underhanded attacks. Or, to fuel his other ability, spend 4 resources and tap. Target attack action you control has base 6 power. This lets him swap out whatever the printed power on the card is, and change it to something much bigger, using smaller, cheaper attacks, buffing them, and cheating them into big power swings. As a rules reminder, you only control cards in the arena or on the stack, not in your graveyard, hand, pitch zone, or library. Possibly even more conniving, we have the despicable Limted Goldmane, Vile Savant, the first hero in Flesh and Blood with a massive 5 intellect, letting him draw up to 5 cards at the end of each of his turns. The downside is the base power defense of each of his cards is half, rounded up, but that almost seems like playing fair. And Limted is Reviled. That's where his other 2 abilities come in. He has the static ability, whenever the crowd boos you, create a Might token, which can stack up quickly to add towering power onto his attack. He also has an instant ability, tap, pay 2 resources, the crowd boos you. Defending action cards you control get +1 defense this turn, which lets him shore up his weakened defenses, but possibly more importantly, makes the crowd boo him to ratchet up his offensive capabilities. He's got a lot of cards to work with, so he'll be laying out diabolical schemes to take down his opponents with. Lastly, Limted, KO, and a few other cards modify the power and defense of other cards, and can interact with each other in unintuitive ways. When applying multiple stat-changing effects, apply them in this order. Set the base stat, such as from KO's ability, multiply the base stat, such as from Big Bully, divide the base stat, such as from Limted's ability, increase the effective power defense, such as from a Might token, reduce the effective power defense, such as from Show of Strength. If this ever comes up, use the helpful acronym SMIDR. In SuperSlam, there's a few returning mechanics you might see, specifically Intimidate and Clash. Intimidate causes a player, usually the defending player, to banish a card at random from their hand face down, and return it later during the end phase. If you were intimidated, you can take a look at the banished card, but your opponent can't, but you can't play it or otherwise use it. At the beginning of your end phase, you will put it back into your hand. No one has priority, so you can't play it, but you are free to put it in your arsenal. You can be intimidated multiple times in a turn, each time putting a card into your banish zone, if you have any left. Returning from heavy hitters is the clash mechanic. Various cards will say, clash with an opponent. If you win, do an effect. To clash with an opponent, each player reveals the top card of their library. Whoever reveals the card with the greatest power wins the clash. Any card with power beats the card without power, and if you tie, nobody wins the clash. If nobody wins, then everyone has failed to win the clash. SuperSlam has a whopping 31 expansion slot cards and booster packs. Expansion slot cards are bonus cards for other classes or cards at a power level not suitable for limited play. Expansion slot cards, along with cold foils and legendary cards, will take the place of one of the 2 token slots at the front of the pack. In limited formats, such as pre-release, sealed, or draft, these cards in those token slots are never in the limited card pool and are yours to keep as soon as the pack is opened. When drafting, the 2 token cards are set aside before any draft picks take place. Also, in SuperSlam Limited, there are no weapons. No axes, no hammers, no claws, nothing. The only ways you're dealing damage are through your attack action cards. There are no fallback plans, only an overwhelming display of strength. And that covers everything you need to know for SuperSlam. Good luck at your pre-release, and if you liked what you see here and want to see more videos like it, make sure to give this video a like, leave a comment, and pile drive that subscribe button. Until next time, playtesters!